Who is Jesus? King Herod heard of it, for Jesus' name had become known. Some said, John the Baptist has been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are at work in him. But others said, he is Elijah. And others said, he is a prophet like one of the prophets of old. But when Herod heard of it, he said, John, whom I had beheaded, has been raised. Hi, I'm Gary, and you're watching 7 Minutes in the Word. When Jesus taught in the Nazareth synagogue, the people marveled and asked, Isn't this the carpenter, Mary's boy? They questioned where he got his knowledge and how he was able to perform miracles. When he calmed the storm at sea, his own disciples wondered, Who then is this? This is a repeated theme in the book of Mark. Who is Jesus? In today's text, we read of Herod Antipas, the son of Herod the Great. He ruled over Galilee from his palace in Tiberias on the shore of Lake Tiberias, also known as the Sea of Galilee. His rule was not absolute, for he answered to Rome, but he and those whom he ruled regarded him as king. Herod had arrested John the Baptist because John had told him his marriage to Herodias was unlawful and a sin. Reading now from Mark, the 6th chapter, verses 17 through 20. For it was Herod who had sent and seized John and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because he had married her. For John had been saying to Herod, It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. And Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to put him to death. But she could not, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he kept him safe. When he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, and yet he heard him gladly. It is hard not to see a parallel between the arrest of John the Baptist by Herod and Jesus being arrested and turned over to Pilate, Herod's counterpart and governor over Judea. Herod knew that John was an innocent man. Pilate knew that Jesus was an innocent man. Herod wanted to keep John safe, and Pilate wanted to keep Jesus safe. But others wanted both men dead. Herodias wanted John dead, but did not have the authority to kill him. And the religious leaders in Jerusalem wanted Jesus dead, but they did not have the authority to kill him. Both Herod and Pilate had to decide what to do with the innocent men who stood before them. Continuing now in Mark, the 6th chapter, verses 21 through 29. But an opportunity came when Herod on his birthday gave a banquet for his nobles and military commanders and the leading men of Galilee. For when Herodias' daughter came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his guests. And the king said to the girl, Ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it to you. And he vowed to her, Whatever you ask me, I will give you up to half of my kingdom. And she went out and said to her mother, For what should I ask? And she said, The head of John the Baptist. And she came in immediately with haste to the king, and asked, saying, I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter. And the king was exceedingly sorry, but because of his oaths and his guests, he did not want to break his word to her. And immediately the king sent an executioner with orders to bring John's head. He went and beheaded him in the prison, and brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard of it, they came and took his body and laid it in a tomb. Herod was duped into having John beheaded. His promise to Salome was little more than a verbal gesture, like us saying, I would give my right arm if I could, well, you fill in the blank. Herod could have refused, but he felt trapped. He had to decide what he would do with John. Would he do the right thing, or would he give in to evil? He gave in to evil. Now, back to the beginning of today's lesson. Herod was wondering who Jesus was, and he feared that he was John the Baptist risen from the dead. Once again, Herod was faced with a decision. What would he do about Jesus? Herod will eventually have to make that decision, but not today. For now, Herod has put off coming to grips with the question of who is Jesus. For now, he has put off deciding what to do about Jesus. Eventually, we all will have to answer the question, who is Jesus? And eventually, we will all have to decide what we are going to do with Jesus. Whether we accept him or reject him, that is a decision we all must make. Thank you for watching today. Please give us a thumbs up and click the subscribe button down in the lower right-hand corner. And do come back again next week for another 7 Minutes in the Word.